I just imagine all of us as like the people in WALL-E, and we're all hooked up to VR.
That's the end game.
Floating around.
Sign me up.
Hooked up to VR.
I'm gonna like pre-order day one. I think this is definitely my favorite GDC I've ever been to.
I think so too.
Like, it was the most fun I've had, the most playable demos on the floor, the most like, it's a show that rightfully I think is usually focused on developers sharing knowledge, and it's not a place to sell games or demo games. It's not E3 and it shouldn't be.
No.
But in terms of fun I had, like, the show floor was popping off this year in like a big way.
It really was, and
it's a VR conference.
I kept getting VR
sure.
and GDC interchanged just because at this point
it's the same thing.
Synonymous.
No,
literally more than half the demos I did were in VR in some form, and I feel like this is the
Yeah.
closest in proximity I've ever gotten to do PSVR, Vive, and Oculus like back to back.
Exactly.
Which made it way easier for me to kind of tell the
Compare
differences.
them,
And which is funny because I actually came away from it thinking like, you know, the gap between them, not as huge as I kind of remembered.
I know, it was really hard to decide which one I liked best. Like,
Which is exciting.
I
for
wish
me.
like I could be able to compare all three because I haven't played PSVR yet, but I did try the Vive and the Oculus.
So wait, which demos did y'all play?
For the Vive, I've played Job Simulator, Budget Cuts.
Dude, Job Simulator, I want to play that so
just
bad.
Throwing
I was
things
watching
around.
the demo and it's like shooting staples and like throwing donuts over in Greg's desk.
Throwing things at your boss,
So
stealing your boss's
here's your
glasses.
coffee.
Yep.
Like,
Yep.
It's a great
Turning on a computer.
In a world where like physics-driven comedy games are a thing now, VR feels like the ultimate catharsis of like, you know how like there are places in this country where you can like go to a room and just take a baseball bat and just smash pots?
Yes.
This is the video game version of
This
that.
is the video game version of that, and you're in an office.
Totally.
For me, for the Vive, I did Hover Junkers. Did you guys play that?
I haven't played it, but I've read a lot about it.
Oh my god, it's so fun. It's a multiplayer FPS, but you have this like hovercraft made out of garbage and like junk.
Right. You're hiding behind cover, right?
Yeah. So I didn't, that's the thing, is like it's so, it includes your whole body, but it's still so foreign to me that I'm like, should I be ducking or should I just be like looking and like shooting?
For most of our lives, we've been repressing those instincts of like, when you're moving the controller around, you always felt embarrassed and weird about it.
But you still do
like,
that because that's natural, and like you're used to like, I still stand up in games, or like I'm like, wait, what is over there? And it's like, that's not gonna help you.
But now it does.
Now it will.
Yeah.
I think my favorite thing that I've done in VR this week, and also ever, and also maybe one of the most enjoyable things I've ever done in video games was, it's called Bullet Train by Epic.
So we had that at the NVIDIA booth. We had a huge
Oh.
display. Anthony did it, and it
Dude,
just looks
you use the analog sticks to activate a teleporter, and you can teleport pretty freely around this train station. But really what it is it's this super ridiculous power fantasy where you have infinite slow motion. I threw my gun at a dude to kill him, and it worked, which was
resourceful.
And he like ragdolled off into the sky. You like just the physical freedom you have with the Oculus touch controllers, which I think are the best VR controllers by far. Like just throwing the gun between your hands and it feeling natural. At one point I had two pistols. I was holding them sideways like a cool guy.
Yeah,
and I aimed them.
That's
how a cool guy does it.
That's how you shoot.
And I was aiming at a dude's head in slow motion, and then I took my other gun and I just dropped it on top of my first gun, and then was like aiming around and firing it with a gun just balanced there.
Platter of guns.
It just stays there.
It wasn't even doing anything. It was just sitting there like I was bouncing. I was like, this is the dumbest. But if someone did that in an action movie, I would probably think it was hilarious.
Yeah, I
great
find
that
that really
works.
funny.
Yes, and that's the thing.
Like you can do whatever you want.
The physics simulation component of VR I think is so crucial because that's what makes it feel real and makes it feel like freeing to me.
I also played, for the Oculus, I played Valkyrie. Have you guys done that?
Valkyrie, yeah.
I want to play that.
That was great. That was the first one that I did where I was like seriously looking
Oh my
everywhere
God,
around,
yeah.
looking down through my ships and like doing spins, and I'm like,
That's awesome.
That was, I haven't played it since the Crystal Cove prototype, but just I remember I have this really clear moment of looking at the HUD and the windows around you, and just like the level of detail in your cockpit was just mind-blowing to me at the time.
And I don't know if it was when you did it, but like you look down and you see like your arms, your alien arms, or I don't think you're an alien, I think you're a human. But you see your full body, and like
That's
so
really cool.
impressive.
Yeah, that's awesome. Think about how much VR we've played this week and how jarring it is to go from one like experience to the other. And it's kind of, it messes you up a little bit. It's just like you have to acclimate to like a different setting. You're like, okay, now I'm here. Okay, now I'm like fighting robots. Now I'm flying as a bird. It's
like,
a little trippy.
You can feel the difference between game engines when you're playing a 2D game. When you're in a 3D game, it's like, oh, the rules of reality are a little bit different now. Like I played Minecraft in VR on Oculus at a Microsoft event, and it was really, really amazing until I started walking around, and then I wanted to throw up. I felt so bad immediately. But what's funny is the mode that they start you off in, you're sitting on a couch made of blocks in like a little Minecraft house looking around, and you've got a big TV in front of you, and you're playing Minecraft on it in 3D, so there's depth, but it's still like on a TV. And then they're like, and then you press the back button to go into full immersion mode. And when you do that, that's when it all fell apart for me. It was actually like anytime I stood still, I felt totally okay. Walking around was the thing that, just because you accelerate really fast and then you stop, and it just, my brain is like, hey, you're not moving, this is bad, like look out.
Yeah, I couldn't handle driving in VR. I played it for a little bit and just it made me sick, like right after.
That's I hear a lot of developers say that the difference is a cockpit. Like the bigger and more elaborate the cockpit is and the more of your field of view it covers, the more likely you are to not feel horrible. That's why Valkyrie works.
I was just gonna say, Valkyrie and Hover Junkers both are kind of similar in that sense because you have your home base basically, and it's not
stable.
just like you have something to ground you.
It feels like we're still, and people keep saying this, and I think it's true, like we're really in the it's like we're discovering a whole new medium. It's like the first few years when people just like started making movies for the first time, right? Like we're figuring out the rules of this every day.
We're the talkies of VR right
We are, exactly.
God.
Exactly.
Boy.
And that's what I love about GDC is like, we're surrounded by people who are literally like pioneering an entire new media. It's like it's the most exciting time in video games in my career.
What a time to be alive.
Exactly.
It really is, and I seriously can't wait. Like next year, I'm sure gonna be.
It's gonna be even
exponential.
crazier.
Yeah.
One thing that I did not want to do, the Paranormal Activity VR experience.
I wanted to do that.
Nope.
Hell no.
I will die.
Hell no.
I swear to God.
I don't.
No,
So
you
my,
do not
I don't.
pay
I've
me.
never gotten seriously afraid in a video game.
I can't watch
Really?
horror movies.
We'll change it.
I can't watch horror movies. If I
No.
was inside a horror movie, I would probably piss
have a heart
myself.
attack?
Yes,
At
that
the
is
least.
how I die. I have a heart attack because I'm
Piss
stuck
myself
in
and have a
VR
heart attack.
there's a little ghost girl coming towards me and I
Oh, I
pee
would
myself
love
and I
it.
die.
No, I have the opposite problem. I'm not going to die from it. I'm going to die having never played a horror game in VR. I refuse to, I just won't do it. You're putting so much trust in a developer when you put on the VR headset. And
yes, you're in their hands now.
If you betray that trust for me,
then it's
done with you.
It is
and
done.
You broke my heart.
I knew for a fact that I couldn't play Paranormal Activity because I played budget cuts and you're supposed to fight these robots and I stayed up in the rafters throwing knives at the robot. They're like, go down and go next to it. I was like, nah.
It's too real, man.
It's too real.
It's too real.
I can't get next to it. That's a real threat in my face. No.
Speaking of real, we had the Everest demo.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Is that good?
They also had the walk
I
too,
haven't done it, but they did?
They had the walk, the tightrope.
Oh,
You're just
praise God.
like no.
The fact that it can trigger those feelings in you, though, I think speaks volumes to how far we've come in VR in a really tiny period of time.
Yeah, I was telling everyone that the last time I tried VR was on the Oculus, like in the office.
Yeah, we used to have that DK1.
When we got
and I remember
Oculus
feeling
and we
underwhelmed.
It up. Yeah,
well, because
we were riding a roller coaster.
Doing
the
like
demo
Google
that
Maps.
I played
Hanging
was
out
like
in
walking in.
Tuscany.
That's what I was like walking around Italy, I think.
That
It was the house in Tuscany.
Okay,
Yeah.
gosh.
The Tuscany demo.
Man,
Oh,
yes, the
How
Tuscany
far
old
demo.
we've
days.
come
Yeah,
in a couple
for sure.
years.
Awesome.
I did a lot more PlayStation VR than I've ever done before, and the last time I did it was like I think a couple E3s ago, so it wasn't. It's come a long way, I feel like. And also there's a game called Thumper that's coming to the PS. I think it'll come to other consoles maybe someday, but the reason I'm obsessed with the VR version, which they are showing for the first time here, is because unlike most VR games, like Thumper doesn't need to be in VR, and they know that, and it's going to be a great TV game, but it's the type of game where I love playing it with huge headphones on because it's isolating you in this really bizarre, trippy world.
Yeah.
And this is one case where it's using VR not as like I'm looking around all that, like you're looking straight forward, but it's using the VR as basically headphones for your eyes is how I like to think of it.
Wow.
And I think that's actually a valid use too. Like I think just
absolutely.
using it to further immerse you in a game that has a really great atmosphere is another cool thing you can do in VR besides just like, oh, I'm looking around or first person thing.
What I did on PSVR was this Gary the Gull.
Gary the Gull.
Oh.
Okay.
It's developed by some ex-Bungie and Pixar guys. What they're doing is creating characters that are interactive via voice command and motion command.
Yeah.
But this one was Gary the Seagull comes down and he's like talking to you and he's like, hey, can I eat your food? And you're like, no. And he's like, okay, I won't. But it's like a very simple demo, but what it is showcasing like all
cool.
these different interactive elements.
I tried the VR basketball setup. Did you see it in there? And they had some guy in a full mocap suit. And he's playing basketball with you. So like you're dribbling, you could see the ball in the game in VR, and then you could see the guy in front of you, but he kind of looks like a robot. And then you're like passing the ball to him and he's passing the ball to you. I was just like, this is so weird. I'm playing basketball in the internet.
Wait, so he would pass a
It's a
physical ball
yeah,
to you?
because they
That's
have
the
the
physical
mocap
ball to me.
points
And
at it.
you were able to catch it?
Yeah, I caught it, and I was
It's
bouncing an
amazing.
actual basketball
Man.
and passing an actual basketball
Without
to
seeing the physical
the other
basketball,
guy.
you just see the virtual one.
The
Yeah.
thing that's the most exciting to me is that we're basically year 0/year 1 for VR,
Yeah.
and we're already doing all this crazy stuff.
And
like,
it looks great. The
crazy.
response time
Yeah.
is great.
the line between like reality and games is like blurring in weird ways, like you're
yes.
describing, and
Yep.
we're just getting like in
nuts.
our lifetime, it's gonna get so weird
I'm a
and
little bit
terrifying.
freaked out,
I
but
think,
like super excited.
well,
I don't
my
know, guys.
theory is that
It's like
this is
Demolition Man.
yes,
they
totally.
predicted all of this.
I think this is the last good year to be alive.
Considering money is an option because
Okay.
this is real life.
Yes.
This isn't virtual life.
Yeah, this is our.
Which
our life.
one do you think you're gonna get first, or only?
I mean, I haven't even played PSVR yet, but I'm thinking PSVR just based on price.
Based on
yeah.
the price
Yeah.
and the fact that
And
like,
what you can
comes
get
with
in the
console
bundle.
you
Yeah,
have.
it's not that much of a price
The-
difference when
the-
you get the bundle.
I think the PSVR headset is really visually attractive.
It is.
It's super comfortable. It feels very light. Not a ton of screen door effect on it. The latency is great. It's not going to have anywhere near the graphics I think of the like super powerful PC ones.
Yeah, that was
Um,
the issue that I
But
had.
money
too.
being an option, like it's good enough for me.
Yeah.
But like that said, I still think the Oculus Touch controller is the coolest, most interesting video game controller I've ever used. Full hand immersion is amazing. Like looking down at your hands and they're behaving
That's pretty
almost
cool.
exactly like they're behaving in real life is almost as cool as the first time you try VR. It's this whole ridiculous
Dang,
experience.
I'm bummed I missed that one. I only
Yeah.
did Valkyrie, which is with
Yeah.
the Xbox or whatever controller. Yeah.
But if money wasn't an object, the Vive.
Vive?
The Vive, yeah.
I really think I'm gonna hold out for the Vive. I mean,
Yeah.
I've got the space for the extra hardware. I think it's awesome that you can move around and do stuff. And with certain games, specifically Space Pirate Trainer, which is on the Vive, in game they have these sensors where when you get near a wall,
Oh,
it's
I know.
like visually
Like a
in there.
blue-
Yeah, they show you a blue grid.
Yeah, so you don't bump into the wall because
Yeah.
that's a problem that a lot of
Right.
people had for
Yeah.
Everest was like they're walking around climbing. When I was demoing Gary the Goal, the dude in the booth next to me just kept banging around.
I felt that. I did the Star Wars demo on Vive at
yeah.
Epic's booth, and at one point I had this lightsaber, and I was like, I wonder if I can like stab R2-D2 in the face. And I'm in a Vive, so I'm like, and I slam a Vive controller into the like wall of this thing super hard, and then I like come out of VR, and the person doing my demo was like totally, they had walked away, they missed it, I think. So I was like, oh, that would have been really embarrassing.
You're like,
I was just like, boom, like super loud. They must have heard it. There's no way they didn't hear it. I heard it and I had headphones on, so.
Oh my God.
Should GDC and VRDC at some point split off into separate events? Or will people even care about non-VR games? I mean, like, that's the thing. We don't know if this is a fad or not yet,
Yeah,
right?
we don't
like,
know.
Yeah.
it's hard to
Don't
tell.
know.
I don't
It's
think
hard
it
to
is.
tell.
I think that this tech is good enough now that it's for real.
Yeah.
I don't think it's the only thing, though. I don't think it'll totally supplant 2D games.
It's not going to.
It's so
yeah.
different.
No,
Yeah.
it's gonna be a while.
Yeah. I can play Spelunky for 4 hours, but I can't play any VR experience for more than 30 minutes.
I have to
feel
stop
Play
at a certain
Hearthstone for
point.
days.
Right.
Yes.
God, but VR
Yeah,
Hearthstone.
Hearthstone though.
Oh.
Think about that. Just flip the table on your opponent.
Concede. You've won this one. Just throw it out.
Yeah. Well
Goodbye.
played. Just
Goodbye.
swipe it away.
Get out of here.